Ashley Hodge here alongside senior writer Will Vandervoort for the Clemson Insider with today's Monday Blitz. And so last week, a video broke about Clemson football, and in the locker room, they were having a Fight Club style fighting matches, and players were videotaping it. And there's a lot of discrepancy about Coach Sweeney losing control of his team and not having control of the locker room. So what did everyone have to say today when we talked to the players and the coaches?
Yeah, first of all, when you see something like that, people in this day and age, they seem to like, oh my goodness, everybody always goes for the negative. And, if somebody who's actually probably done something stupid like that, being this guy, it's just a bunch of boys being boys. And right when I saw it, I could just tell because the guys were around them, were videoing it and stuff. There wasn't anybody like trying to break it up. And if it's a fight, guys are actually trying to break it up. So this is something they were just being boys, and boys do stuff like this all the time. And you get a bunch of boys together, things are going to happen. And one's okay, two's fine. 3, so it's always that way. And so it's just boys being boys. And Coach Sweeney addressed it last week, and he addressed it with the team. So I talked to Adam Choice and we talked to Tony Elliott about the situation, and both of them said Coach Sweeney addressed it and handled the situation well. And Adam says it really wasn't a big deal, because he being one of the guys in the locker room. Now he wasn't involved in it, but he's like, really no big deal. And then Coach Sweeney, he said he handled it. And then Tony Elliott even took it to another part, saying he handled it well. And they got that thing out in front, and they made Dabo kind of actually pointed to the senior leaders on the team and the leadership council and said, don't let this happen again. Right. Let's make sure we got control in there and that nothing like this is happening. Even though it was just fun, he's just saying it's just something when that gets out, it can become a distraction. Right. And he doesn't want that to be a distraction for the team. They got enough to worry about. They don't need to be hearing people talking about what they're doing, if they're having a fight club or not, which they're not, but people take it and they see it and they're like, oh no. They think the worst, and so but Dabo handled it, and they've moved forward now. The team has, and I'm sure Dabo will address it tomorrow in his press conference as well. So we'll get to hear Dabo's part of it. But but that's it with that situation. We hope anyway.
Right. Well, in terms of worrying and team leadership as well, Bryant injured himself in the Wake Forest game, hurting his ankle, and then in the Syracuse game, he suffered a concussion. So there's been a lot of question marks on his playing status, and he talked with us today and said that he had passed concussion protocol, but what else did he say about his injury status and if he's going to be ready to go 100% by this Saturday?
Yeah, him and Tony Elliott both addressed it. Elliott answered my question saying that, everything he's understanding that the plan is that he'll go to practice today. And then that'll make him ready for this week from a protocol standpoint, concussion protocol standpoint, he can practice. Kelly said the ankle's fine. He says it's about 80 to 85%. So that means there's probably going to be some limitations with his ankle and what he does. I think how he practices this week will determine what kind of game plan they use with him. So it's going to be kind of an iffy week where we're going to be asking Kelly Bryant questions all week. Like, 'cause he said he wanted to go see. Last week they allowed him to do some running on it, and so he's kind of want to see how he can cut on it and things like that. Because when you tweak an ankle, it's one of those things, especially where a guy like him, that he's so agile and he's got such good control and he can cut on a dime. When you tweak an ankle, it's hard to do those things, and so until he gets in practice today and tries to mess with it and see what he can do. So we're probably going to go into probably late in this week to know exactly what they're going to do as far as Kelly and how they're going to use him this week. I think he's going to play. I really do. Yeah. Everything I heard today indicates that, but it's still question mark kind of thing, if you will.
And you never know. And Tony Elliott also talked about how Zara Cooper and Hunter Johnson are those two guys in the back, and that they can follow suit if Kelly Bryant isn't 100% able to play.
Yeah, they could. And that's the thing. And Tony Elliott talked about how they took equal reps last week because Kelly didn't practice last week because of the concussion protocol. So those guys got first team reps, and he said they split them between the two. So if Kelly can go, or if he has issues with his ankle, then those two you think will be a little bit ready for that. But the thing about Elliott he says one thing he learned from the Syracuse game was you still got to stay within your game plan and not get away with it and just go with the strengths of the quarterbacks. He admitted that he kind of got away from his game plan against Syracuse, and they kind of panicked a little bit, if you will. And that's something that, he says he can't do if something were to come up again this week. So, it's interesting to see. He hasn't made it the last 3 games, the last 2 games, that is. Let's see if Kelly Bryant can go a whole game. Because I tell you, this is a game Clemson's going to need a healthy Kelly Bryant, and I really believe that, especially what Georgia Tech does on defense. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this weekend in this game.
And speaking of injuries, Travis Etienne pulled his hamstring in the last game against Syracuse. So what was his status, and what did he have to say about that?
Well, he said he actually tweaked it like early in the game on a kickoff return. I don't know if it was the first one or the next one after that. And said he felt it, and he said it was kind of like bothering him the whole game. And then so I asked him, I said, so when you went 52 yards for a touchdown, your hamstring was hurt? He says, yeah, it was. I just kind of felt, because he just ran away from people.
No big deal.
No big deal, So I also talked to him about, his blocking, and he says, he talked about the one play that led the sack. He talked about how that was the one that sort of, he said what happened, he thought he was reading the guy over here when he should have been reading the guy here, and he kind of read it wrong, and then right when he did, he saw the mistake he made, and the guy came off the backside. He couldn't get over there in time to get the block. So he's like, it's one of those things you live and learn from, but he said that had nothing to do with the hamstring or anything like that. That was just him making a mistake, and, he says he feels good, though. Okay. He says he feels like he's going to play this week, and he doesn't think it's going to be an issue.
Well, hopefully we'll have all of our guys back healthy and ready to go for Saturday when Clemson takes on Georgia Tech under the lights in Death Valley.